Begin with the Daily Graphic this morning, and the Daily Graphic talks about O2 is best teacher. That's what Daily Graphic says. It wins a 3-bedroom house yesterday as we celebrate the Teachers' Day, and it was celebrated. The president was there as well. Dr. Wal was there as well. So congratulations to him. And also stolen crash barriers to be replaced. Resident engineer is telling all of us. Reverend Osubempa faces trial in 2 courts. That's on the front page of the Daily Graphic. What's on the back page? President cuts short for hospital at BDM, and Yana pledges support to preserve environment. The Daily Guide this morning. Owusu-Bempah woes deepen. 13 tall staff, milk refinery, and 55 under probe. President directs RegSex to lead Galamsey fight. Chief of staff not auctioning state property unlawfully. The Ghanaian Times says Ebenezer Kojo Otu adjudged best teacher. Reverend Sister Justina Kwachiwa Nelson Kwashi, first and second runner-up. President applauds MP Wembley Sports for ultra-modern AstroTurf facility at Bantama. Asensor Trees constituency gets an AstroTurf. And good morning to you, Robert Coleman, and the team at Wembley for that fantastic job that you keep doing to improve sports in this country. Well, the next paper that we tend to look at will be the Herald newspaper. And the Herald newspaper says NDC shreds a Jura committee report, accuses Justice Kumsin of grand cover-up. Also, the banner headline, scandal hits law school admissions again. Finance Ministry refused Oforiatta's resignation, but doubts hang about his ability to present budget statement. Well, Mr. Oforiatta recently appeared in public with the President of the Republic, and well, that sparked this conversation. Massive theft at Tema Oil Refinery, indicted staff under investigation. What is on the front page of the Republic? The Republic Press. Akufo-Addo makes stopover at Kwo and inspects €4 million, a TBA hospital project. And Sampine gets 94.8% confirmation as KMA boss. He says he will check the figures again. Ken Oforiatta still at post at the Finance Ministry. That's what the Republic Press says. The Informer is our next newspaper. It says Akufo-Addo's jumps trap and says, I won't manipulate constitution to my favor. Comes with 4 presidents of Africa. Akufo-Addo is ECOWAS chair, and the 3 have already done what President Akufo-Addo says he won't do. Asiedun Ketia stabs the NDC. HIV infection high amongst homosexuals in Ghana, AIDS Commission, and that's one of the bases that Sam George and his team are standing on to say no LGBTQI in Ghana. Well, they've been faced by some intellectuals and a group of CSOs who say that is unfair, but we'll get into those details. NDC standard bearer race. Haruna silences Mahama apologists as Neilante Van der Poel runs for cover. That is the Informer front page story. The Chronicle is next. The Chronicle says Jubilee House Director Frema Oseo-Pare not unlawfully auctioning state properties, and also Akufo-Addo inspects €4 million a TBA hospital project. NDC rewrites a Jura report, and Anti-Fa Wotu Beji bill story riles Professor Prempen turns gun on the Chronicle. The Chronicle getting very, very graphic this morning. The Finder newspaper claims that Chief of Staff was involved in sale of 9 cars false. According to the Chief Director, Tema Oil Refinery indicts staff over massive product losses. Teacher first policy critical to equip teachers, deliver quality learning outcomes, according to the President. And 1D1F President Akufo-Addo commissions garment manufacturing factory in Kofo-Ridge towards the eastern region of the Republic of Ghana. My guest this morning, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. He is a former member of parliament for the Lejokuku constituency, the Greater Accra region, a former deputy minister of health, and a former board chairman of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We don't know his present portfolio, but I'm sure we can find it. He's a guy who does locum also at Lekpa. So today, if you go to Lekpa, I'm sure you'll find him. Dr. Bernard, how are you doing?
Johnny.
I've not seen this bow tie before.
Yeah, you know, by the grace of God, I got this new one.
Okay.
And, I'm happy to let you see it. Let me also thank you guys for always having us here. It's a very big platform.
Right.
Unfortunately, I come and meet a very skilled propagandist who makes life difficult on the show.
He says you're a propagandist. You say he's a propagandist.
You know, here you get information, there you get propaganda.
I hear you.
So be prepared.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Comrade Murtala Mohammed is a former deputy minister for trade. He is also the member of parliament for the Tamale Central constituency. How are you doing, sir?
Alhamdulillah, we can't complain.
Nice mark.
Thanks.
You have a lot of those, don't you?
Yes, I do. I do.
Wear them alone.
You know
I guess you've never... I gave him a smoke before.
The commendation...
As a matter of fact, he cannot have given him a smoke before.
Okay.
The so guy wants comments from the ladies, and you are commending him.
Johnny, there are certain things that must not be responded to.
Okay.
And I guess...
This is one of those. Okay. Let's quickly talk about rent. Spend 2 minutes talk about rent because this morning that was my interest. Rent, fees, agency fees, landlords and landladies, the wahala they give to their tenants, the rent control department. I don't know if your constituents have been complaining to you as well, but share with me your thoughts about rent issues in Ghana. 2 minutes and then we'll move on.
Johnny, let me say good morning to you. Good morning to my propagandist friend. And good morning to the good people of Tamale Central. Johnny, the issue of rent and the challenges tenants go through is not peculiar of any part of this country. It's the entirety of Ghana. We have all rented properties before. And in fact, if you have to work at a place that is not even your home, for example, I'm coming from Tamale, and I happen to work here, you certainly would have to rent a property to live in. And even those who have properties, sometimes, depending on where the property is located, they are forced to rent, you know, places to live in. And we have laws regulating the conduct of landowners and tenants. That law is explicit and very comprehensive. The challenge we have is our ability to enforce those laws. In other countries or other jurisdictions, laws are not only meant to be in the statutes, but they are meant to be enforced and implemented. Unfortunately, that is not what we have here. When we were in office, and I traveled to Gambia, and it's difficult traveling within the West African sub-region. So the flight, we transited in Senegal. Now, we're supposed to spend about 7 hours or 8 hours in Senegal before I get my connected flight to Ghana. So when we got to Senegal, 8 hours, there wasn't any hotel accommodation, nothing.
Okay.
So I called one of the gentlemen working in the Ghana embassy in Senegal. So he came, took me to his home. We went there, and the place was so beautiful. The place was so beautiful. One of the posh areas, if you like, in Dakar, and huge, about 3 or 4 bedroom apartment.
Okay.
So when I saw, I said, oh, you must have paid a lot of money for this facility. I was flabbergasted, the amount of money he told me he paid.
Okay.
I mean, juxtaposing that with how much I was paying, even in Ghana. But one thing that struck me was that he said, here, you can't take rent more than 3 months.
Really?
Yes. And he said he was willing to pay 2 years because the place was so cheap. You know, he compared it with Ghana. And the landlord told him, I can't do that. If I do that, I'll be prosecuted.
Not in Ghana.
Yes, the landlord could have just taken the money. But the landlord was afraid that even though that arrangement was between he and the tenant, and no one could have known that he paid about 2 years, but he was mindful. These are places where laws are actually, where the laws work, where laws are actually enforced. Because he was even entertaining fear. Yes, this is an arrangement between myself and you, but I could be caught.
Right.
But we live in a country where anybody can increase rent at any time. You see, the extent to which people are now compelled, particularly young men and young ladies, who happen to find themselves in Accra, either for school, for education. They're in these hostels. Go to the hostels. They have about 4 people in a room.
That's right.
4 young men in a room. And they pay 2,000 each. So if you take, it means that they are paying almost 8,000 And these things happened. Landlords and landladies increase the rents every year.
Arbitrarily.
So every year, you would have to renew, even those who agreed to take 1 year. They take 1 year. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be 6 months. They take 1 year. After every 1 year, they increase the rent. And I think it's just completely unacceptable.
Okay, even the rent control department in many places is a tenant, like some assemblies that I know. And you find that some assemblies have even been threatened with ejection notices. But we do know what the figures are. We talk about affordable housing. We talk about the fact that the recent census results told us the real situation. We are almost like a container nation. People are living in containers and kiosks, and people are perching, like Putala is saying. How do we go around this? I mean, I don't know what your situation is in Teshi, what your people have told you.
First of all, let me say a very good morning to all your viewers, and especially I want to, when you call him honorable, you say he likes comrade.
That's right.
And we'll investigate that at another time. But
He's just on me this morning.
A very special one to my constituents as well. And let me also thank God for the strength he's giving all of us. And the president, the number one gentleman, is in the Eastern region doing some tour. Johnny, you know, this is not a command and control economy, fortunately or unfortunately, because there are some benefits for a command and control economy, and there are major disadvantages too. We are running a free market economy, of course, with some intervention sometimes, so that the negative part of the free market doesn't weigh down too much on the vulnerable. But the point I want to make is that in the free market, it is the demand and the supply available that usually determines where the equilibrium lies. And the equilibrium happens to be the price. So, yes, what government can do or what the state can do is to try and enforce regulation that reduces abuse. But the bottom line is that even with regulation, if your supply situation is bad and the demand is huge, it will be difficult for prices to go down, because that's a natural, how do you call it, phenomenon in the market. Now, data is key in solving this problem. In fact, there are many factors. When you look at the factors accounting for this, rural-urban migration is also one. People trying to come to the center.
That's right.
And all that.
That's right.
If people are, I mean, if you are somewhere in Chebi or Enyinesi and you want a room, you might get one room, 2-bedroom for 50 or 40 Ghana cedis.
Not entirely so. I have friends in Enyinem who are paying 300, 350 for a single room.
Usually what happens is that even at such places, when you rent around a busy center, so let's say if you want a house, a room around the hospital,
okay,
then
the schools.
Exactly, or a school, because they know there's something that attracts you. But the point I want to make is that once you have a lot of migration to the center, it increases the demand. And unfortunately, people who come into the center from outside might not be economically strong. They now want to come and grow themselves. And that's where you have kiosks and people being abused and all that. But data is also important. Sometimes landlords charge certain prices because they can't really track the background of the person to get some assurance that, look, let's say if your biometric details can be accessed from a database. When Johnny comes to me, I check and it is true that this is Johnny. He works with TV3 or this media. This is his salary level, not exactly the salary, but it's in, let's say, stage 4, stage 5. So I have the assurance that, look, if I give Johnny even 2-3 months, I mean, he wouldn't vanish when the 3 months is due or after a month and run away or anything. So because you are in an economy or a country where you can't really get a solid background or the one you are dealing with, sometimes landlords want to put all that risk into the bill. So that if anything happens, well, I mean, 2 people run away, but the charge from 5 people will solve that problem.
Right.
So, Johnny...
But then if you, for example, if landlords will go to the rent control department, fill that form, and then they will get, they have some fees they collect, some bit of insurance and all of that, or if the house is properly insured, this situation will not arise.
No, you know, like I said, enforcement. Most of the rules can rigidly determine the price. We should remember that. The rules will prevent abuse, extreme abuse. But more often than not, even if the fellow is charging only 3 months, they can give you an absurd figure. So we should know that it is the supply situation that we must try to improve. And Johnny, I don't know, but we are conservatives in this country. The same method we used to build houses in 1957 is what is being done today. Why can't we adapt other technologies? There are other technologies that can raise a building in about 5 months, 6 months, and you can use the structure for, let's say, 10, 15 years. Once the land is there, after 10, 15 or 20 years, it can come down, you can raise it. I think our problem as a nation is that we are stuck to the old.
Okay.
We don't want to move from one technology to the other. And like I'm saying, there are many factors. Cost of buildings is one.
That's why the affordable housing is not affordable to the people who funded it.
You see, anytime they talk about affordable housing, it is people, I'm not saying it's not good, but it is people, even with housing, trying to look at the state to give them shelter. I think we should, what are the factors that make life difficult for real estate owners and developers? We should deal with those factors. The houses should not cost, let's say, $200,000, $400,000. Is it not possible to have a house costing, let's say, 150,000 Ghana cedis, 50,000 Ghana cedis? It depends on the technology. If you go and use concrete mortar, 1957, looking at gas and prices and all that, there's no way you sell a house below 100,000.
I hear you.
Johnny, I just want to make this
quickly.
I think that, you see, even in the most freest or capitalist societies, they still have regulations. They still have laws that regulate the conduct of actors. To be very honest with you, so the idea of we run a free market society, for me, is not the issue. But there's one very important point that he made, and I think that ought to be looked at. People make payments before they even use the facilities.
That's correct. Which is not what the law says.
Exactly. So to check the background of people here, and for which reason you entertain fears that the person may abscond after staying there 3 months or 6 months, wouldn't be a significant problem.
But people make the payment because they know that there are not many options.
You see,
if Oko, you and I are looking at the same facility, the landlord is calling it a hot cake. The agent has taken you there. The demand is high, but it's just one supply.
But John, even the agent, you know, agent fee sometimes is almost half of the price you pay.
They say it's 10-15%.
I mean, that is so
They
huge.
decide.
Exactly. So I think that we need to look at it. Johnny, he said something which I don't want to forget. My background is planning. When you have urban sprawl, when you have more and more people converging to the center, after some time, the value of property in that area reduces. Because people would want to move outskirts.
Right.
Because when you stay within, for example, within the center business district, noise, the inconveniences, security, traffic, the value, except commercial properties, but residential properties, the value reduces. And I think that's where the problem is.
Okay.
When I sit down and I look at Libya, sometimes I weep. They had facilities, flats that were provided for people working for the state, but not residents of the places that they were working.
I hear you.
And all these things have been demolished.
Thank you very much. So you can join us with your thoughts and comments here on TV3Newday. We'll share them with the rest of the wonderful world. Now, yesterday we were shocked by a statement that was released from the quarters of the Tema Oil Refinery, talking about the fact that some liters of oil had gotten missing and all of that. I'll read a statement to you briefly while we put it on the screen, and then also we'll share some detail with you of how some 14 officials have been interdicted and have been asked to stay away from the Tema Oil Refinery for some time. And that's the statement on your screen. It's dated the 5th of October, 2021. Product losses at Tema Oil Refinery, TOR, Interim Management Committee commences investigations. Now, it says, 1, in order to eradicate or reduce product losses at Tema Oil Refinery to the barest minimum to enable TOR realize its vast potential, the Interim Management Committee, as part of its mandate, commenced investigations into product storage and transfer losses. 2, below are some of the incidents of product storage and transfer losses that have so far been discovered in the process. A, the disappearance of 105,927 liters of gas oil on the 4th of September 2021, which belongs to a BDC client. B, the wrongful loading of 252,000 liters of aviation turbine kerosene instead of regular kerosene into BRV trucks at the loading gantry between 21st and 25th September 2021. C, the disappearance of 18 drums of electrical cables worth 10.4 million Ghana cedis from the technical warehouse of TOR discovered in April 2021. D, the disappearance of LPG belonging to a client between 2012 and 2015, as a result of which TOR became indebted to the client to the tune of $4.8 million as confirmed by Ernst & Young audit. E, loss of NAFTA to a BDC client. 3, consequently, a number of staff members who hold various positions of responsibility with respect to the transfer of products have been queried and interdicted pending the outcome of the investigations. 4, while the investigations are ongoing, we urge all staff to remain calm and rest assured that the investigations are being conducted in accordance with due process of law. Anyone cleared in the process will be recalled from interdiction, while any form of liability will be dealt with in accordance with the law. This ends the Interim Management Committee. Okay. Now, Tamayo Refinery, we've been talking about it, trying to get it very refined, because this doesn't prove any form of refinement. If you've ever been to TOR before, you know that the security is heavy. You have NIB or BNI officers, national security, you have GRA, everybody is watching and looking. So before a drop of fuel is moved from that location, the checks would have to be done. Before anything moves out or anything moves in from one office to the other, it had to be confirmed. How is it that we sat down for such quantum of oil, electrical cables and all of that to be missing before we are now putting out this statement to say we have set up a committee to investigate? So why the security there?
Well, Johnny, let me say that it takes human beings or people to build. It takes human beings or people to destroy. It takes human beings to sustain or nurture an inefficient system. Mm-hmm. It takes same human beings to address it. I'm saying this just to more or less put in perspective that the kind of environment, working environment, that allows these things to happen, I suspect strongly, or the kind of leadership that allows this to happen, is not the same leadership we're having now. And that is why companies, most efficient international companies, don't joke with rotation of their branch managers or heads, Johnny. So that whatever is happening at one place, when a new person comes, you normally will do an audit of the system, okay, and give a report, so that if anything happens, the liability is not ascribed to you, assuming it existed before you came. I suspect the gentleman who is gone there, I think I stand to be correct, Edward Boating.
That's right.
I'm sure immediately he looked at the situation and did his assessment. He's identified these serious liabilities. I'm using my words well. Whatever happens is a liability. Okay. Whether it was intentionally commissioned as a criminal act or it was due to gross negligence, the investigations will show. But I am happy that there is a new leadership that is alerting us of all this. But really it tells us how worrying things can be or are at certain places in this country.
Right.
And when we talk of Ghana as a whole, it is a collection of what happens at all these places that tells the nature of the state. And I only stand with Mr. Edward Boating and would encourage him. We'll call on all the state bodies like BNI, okay, now is NIB, the police, and all those that he will be counting on, because obviously he's not a CID officer. He's identified these things. They use words like disappearance.
Right.
I don't know.
Say the electrical cables disappeared.
You know, I went to Presec. Right. Legon. And I mean, when you go to Presec, words, you don't suffer or struggle with the appropriate word. I wonder whether this is the appropriate word to use.
That the cables disappeared.
The word disappearance, even with the barrels.
Magic has happened.
I mean, if you say unaccounted for, okay, I think that is better. You know, all this, if you go to Presec...
But they are there, they saw it. Magic insecticide chop.
You know what? And the reason why disappearance, I don't want disappearance to come, is that we are dealing with alcohols. Most petroleum products are alcohols. And alcohols actually are volatile. So whenever you have them, there is some level of evaporation loss you can make. Right. But they are very marginal. But when you use disappearance in this case, you might force some scientists to think that we are talking of hundreds or thousands of barrels having evaporating, you know. But on a serious note, even the word, maybe they mean well, but these are things that have not been accounted for. We are supposed to undertake investigations that will tell us what happened to them.
Is it your view that, for example, the governmental influence and intrusion, I should use that, and as some lawyers say, meddlesome interloper, not interfering too many times, and that's what is causing this particular
Johnny,
situation.
you know what? History teaches us a lot. Most economists, most modern nation builders have stated a maxim, which is very powerful,
which is,
and almost always true, that nations should not run a business. They can be owners of a business. You can get some shares. If you go to Europe or America, most of the, like let's say the company that supplies gas in Germany is not run by the state, but because it's a very vital service provider, when you go in the shareholding, the state has shareholding.
Big interest.
Exactly. So the potential for Tor is huge. We've all said it. Their infrastructure, assets, the capacity, what they can do for this country is huge. Because of that, a lot of people have interest over there. But because largely it's run by the state, you can have influences, I mean, across board over the years. Political influence, actors based on their connection. You can have sometimes inertia in dealing with someone who's done wrong. But assuming, you know, Goel is similar to what I'm trying to describe.
That's right.
Goel, the state has shares, but there are other entities who are not state actors with shares in Goel. So the level of political or state influence is capped. So that those who have their monies at Goel are looking at efficiency that will result in profits.
That's right.
So Johnny, for Tor, ultimately, what I would suggest for Tor is that we must have state interest, but it should not be run. And because someone said, one of my economic lecturers, when I did health economics, told me, Doc, he said, Doc, businesses are sustained by profits, because that's what pays everybody.
That's right.
But state institutions are sustained by votes, because that is what keeps the politician in office.
I hear you.
And you don't want to mix
the two,
you know.
I see. Mutala, so over the years, Tor has been fingered.
And sorry, we've not been told the time span within
which the...
Exactly. And I wish it gives clarity.
Okay.
But whatever it is, these things must be accounted for. Okay. I agree with that. Yes.
So that fuel doesn't disappear. And
absolutely.
Electrical cables as well.
Absolutely.
Tor has been fingered in some form of corruption. They say they are drenched in debt or immersed in debt. There's been accusation of grabbing. Some are even suggesting that these electric cables and all the liters of fuel that we're being told got missing, some people in high places grabbed them. I don't know what you know. You're a former deputy minister for trade. And so you may have looked into Tor deeply at some point. What comes to mind when you read the statement that things are getting missing at Tor, disappearing?
Johnny and my honorable friend, for the avoidance of doubt, this TV happened under this government.
No, but they've not stated.
Hold on. I'm saying that it happened under this government.
I wish you give
I'm saying that it happened under this government.
You have to prove that.
Yes. I'm not saying it cannot happen. I'm just saying
that's what I'm asking him. He needs to prove that.
5 million liters vanished. He was
moving peanuts.
Yes, he was worried about this one missing. That one, it vanished into thin air. 5 million liters. And the MPA itself did their investigation, cited some people for having been the actors who ensured the vanishing of that alcohol by your own definition. So it shouldn't be surprising that this thing is happening. The question is that when people engage in such acts and nothing happens, they are emboldened. They are emboldened. We raise issues, and it was not just the NDC. Civil society organizations, including media and people who have the expertise in appreciating how this oil industry is operated, it's vanished. So, my honorable friend, don't be surprised that this one is also vanished. And to be very honest, when he said that, you see the leadership, the same leadership.
By the way, Edward Boateng is not.
But it's the same government.
Edward Boateng is not at all. Thank you.
I'm saying that.
Senior GOT Ajiman. Edward Boateng is not at all. It's a 3-member IMC that's managing it, announced by Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh some time ago, in April or so.
So it's the same government. Whether, you see, when the chief comes home with weird haircut, what do you expect his subjects to do? The Gombes have a problem. Because people are emboldened. You see these things happen time and time again. And nothing happens. And so when people engage inside, the positive thing about it is that, yes, some action or some similar action has been taken. It is our hope that this doesn't remain there. It is our hope that those who are behind this are dealt with, regardless who ought.
But TOR is a security facility, is under consistent or constant surveillance. There are CCTV cameras, as I mentioned. There are NIB officers, national security officers. You want to enter TOR and you go through a thorough search. I mean, I've been there before. You go through a thorough search. Sometimes very intimidating figures will come to you and all of that. How is it then that with all these security checks in place, things get missing? Do you suspect connivance?
Either there is a bounded complicity of leadership at TOR, whose mandate it is to monitor and supervise how things are happening there. Or there is a hand, an invisible hand somewhere, directing and assisting that ABCD be done. Go to Cocoa Board and find out the person who is in charge of the supply of sacks. Go and find out. So I'm saying that we expect something to be done. At least unlike the moving Pina, we expect action so that we can nip this to the bud. But
you're in Parliament. You should be asking those questions. You are going back very soon.
Yes, we will.
You answer questions.
We will. We will demand that something be done, because you see, we are talking about taxpayers' money, and it is true when you raise the issue about the challenges that TOR is engulfed with, for which reason the services that the people of this country expect from them is nothing to write home about. Now, if you have already a desperate institution, an institution which is bereft with a lot of resources, because they are indebted, things that you are supposed to do, they are not able to do that. At the end of the day, their indebtedness is heaped on the ordinary Ghanaian, a Ghanaian who cannot even pay his rent, because it's an institution that must survive. Now you have people who are given the responsibility to man these institutions. They themselves are engaged in these things. I think that it is worrying. So what I would say for now is that I would want to give the benefits of the doubt, that they have made this known to us. Let's see how it runs. At least we pray that we will not have another moving Pina at hand.
I hear you. Okay. Yes, you want to have the bite.
All this, my brother has not given us the evidence
that it happened under your government.
It's not.
Oh, but
I think that's a fair point.
Hold on. When we had,
you're using the moving Pina as a basis for...
I'm saying that it's not surprising. Look, whether it, you see, when he made that statement, I knew that he was trying to deceive the viewing public into thinking that, yes, this may happen under the NDC. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to deceive. Why? Since when? This government has been in office for 6 years now. So are you telling me that it took them 6 years or more than 6 years to identify? Oil comes at any point in time. It doesn't take an oil that they have, which will last for 6 years.
Can I read paragraph D of the TOR release? It says, D, the appearance of LPG belonging to a client between 2012 and 2015, that's under you, as a result of which TOR became indebted to a client to the tune of $4.8 million, as confirmed by Ernst & Young audit. That's the only one that is attributed to Mutale's government. But the rest, 105,000 92 liters of oil and gas, 4th September 2021. That's under you.
Yes.
Hold on for me. You were happy when I read his. Let me read yours too. The wrongful loading of 252,000 liters of aviation turbine kerosene. It happened between 21st and 25th September. And then also it talks about disappearance of 18 drums of electrical cables worth 10.4 million from the technical storehouse of Tor, discovered in April 2021, which was when the IMC was constituted, and the loss of NAFTA to a BDC client. All of those happened under you. What the NDC is cited in, I suppose, between 2012 and 2015 is $4.8 million US.
Hold on. Johnny, listen. We should not mix up things.
Okay. We
are talking about missing oil. They are talking about an indebtedness occasioned by certain things. It's completely different. In any case,
by loading wrong.
Yes, I'm saying that is the indebtedness. If you read the report, we are talking about missing, and he lamented how oil could be missing, and he brought in his scientific terms of it being an alcohol and others. So let us not mix two things. But in any case,
he spoke truth,
Johnny. In any case,
he spoke chemistry.
I agree. Chemistry lectures. In any case, Johnny, this government has been in office for 6 years now. 6 years. So it should take them 6 years to detect that something like this, then God save this country. But I'm saying that,
we have to move on and swap
one was more scandalous than this
one.
Okay.
Johnny, you know, but you are hopeful that something will be done?
I expect something to be done, but I doubt, because we've seen that coming events, they say cast their shadows before.
I hear you,
Johnny, you know what?
Finally,
I will
on this
not
one.
for a minute make an effort to shield a member of my party or this government who has commissioned crime. Johnny, I know your viewers are discerning.
Right.
I just wanted us to get clarity in terms of the span, so that we are not tricked into thinking that this is this is unique to a particular government. It is possible it's a systemic thing. It's a structural problem. Once you get a better view, then your approach is well drafted or well crafted. That's the first one. And let me also clarify here. I mean, people can do mischief. I'm not saying that's what they wanted to do. When I said chemicals were volatile, remember, I cited the word used and said I wouldn't use
it cannot disappear.
Exactly, because in chemistry, those things are the chemicals themselves are alcohols. So when you use disappearance, you might be suggesting to someone that they evaporated, which is not the case. We are talking about some form of unaccounted for fuel.
I hear you. And yesterday, sorry.
And lastly, you know, because your viewers are discerning, when you use words like deceive and all that, I only ask for better
clarity,
further particulars, which helps the one watching and listening to get a better.
I hear you. Thank you.
I would want to know which scientific process led to the vanishing of the 5 million liters. Was that one? I think that.
But I've not said this is due to science. I'm rather citing the word used that it's not appropriate.
So that one, what would we say?
Just like this, it was unaccounted for.
It vanished.
Either someone misapplied it or sold it, or it was unaccounted.
I hear you. Yesterday, the NDC held a press conference. And Mutala, your party is stuck in saying, for example, that the three-member interministerial committee, three-member committee of inquiry that was set up by the Minister for Interior upon the orders of the President of the Republic to investigate the disturbances at Ejira, sought to cover up wrongdoing on the side of official dom and the military and security agencies and try to keep blame rather on the family. You're also asking for the head of Simon Osei Mensah, who's the Ashanti Regional Minister, who made the call for the deployment of the military to the area and other things. But the people who sat on the committee, Professor Vladimir Inchudanso, has insisted that, look, they did a clean job. It was not their job to get into some of the domains that you're complaining about. And so this is the report. Allow government to act on the report. Why are you still commenting?
Johnny, I have had a long-standing relationship with Professor Vladimir Inchudanso. He is one distinguished person with whom I have tremendous reverence for. As a student leader in University of Ghana campus, he was then the dean of students. Very, accessible to us at any point in time. When I went to do my second degree at Leicester, he was my lecturer. In fact, one of my favorite lecturers. He taught me international economics. So I have had some relationship with him, and ever since, we do talk once in a while. But let me say, and if Prof is watching, with all due respect, your committee did a disastrous work. It was so shambolic, the extent to which I can't resist the temptation but to comment on it in such strong terms. Why? This government set up a committee with a mandate. The mandate was absolutely insulated from the circumstances leading to the murder of Kaka. At no point in time did they ask them to investigate the circumstances leading to the murder of Kaka. And in fact, I listened to Professor Vladimir Chudanson on radio, and specifically Joy FM. And he said that the Kaka family were expecting them to investigate the circumstances leading to the murder of Kaka.
That's right.
But that was not their mandate.
Yes, he said
so he himself admitted that they had no business getting into the investigation of Kaka. And what you just said, the NDC, what the NDC expected the committee to do, that they were not mandated to do so. Strangely, they made pronouncement on the murder of Kaka.
Did they?
Yes, they did. They did. In any case, Johnny, there is a theft case, may God forbid, in the studios of TV3. Then a committee is set up, chaired by my brother and I, to investigate specifically. Then we came there, and then we realized that someone exchanged blows, okay, at the entrance. And I said, okay, if a gamma lizard, more people. So because it's investigation, we investigate and investigate the exchanging of blows. Strangely also, the report, 40% of the report was about Kakia's murder. 40%. Now, I find it difficult to compare the two. In one breath, members of the committee themselves have admitted that they were not mandated to investigate the murder of Kaka. Yet, they desperately found space in that report to talk about circumstances leading to Kaka's death. But let's look at them in Tetu. First and foremost, the Ashanti Regional Minister is not credible. Whatever he says.
Why do you want
I'll give you the reasons.
He's not here to...
No, I'll give you the reasons. This same man, when the killing of the Asawasi young men, you remember about 6 or 7 young men from Asawasi were gunned down by the police. His interview, he said that they were armed robbers. When government himself set up a committee to investigate the circumstances leading to the murder of those innocent young men, the committee revealed that they were not armed robbers. 2, this same minister, regional minister, granted interview and said that when the military got to Ejura, people started throwing stones at them, and that occasioned they using live arms to shoot at people. This committee has established that that was another fat lie. The police in Ejura, the leadership of the police and the military who went there also lied to the people of this country. They said the people started throwing stones. That was the reason why they were so happy.
You are asking for his head.
I'm coming. I'm giving the reasons why I think that he should. And I said he's not credible, and then you are asking me why. I'm giving you the reasons. They shot down and killed it only for the committee to establish that is not true. There's another point. The police also told the people of this country that it was Kaka's family that invited them to provide them with security for the burial of Kaka. It is established by this committee that nothing like that happened, and that the police could not mention a single name or a member of the family who invited them. And the committee itself established that what provoked the happenings there was the presence of the police with water cannons and others at the cemetery. So that is one. Listen, the reasons why this committee, in any cabinet, they didn't have any business getting into Kaka's murder. Now, if you watch the committee, Kaka's wife gave accounts and indicated that the husband was threatened. As a matter of fact, the husband mentioned names of those who threatened him. The committee refused to take the accounts of Kaka's wife, refused to take the accounts of the daughter, refused to take the accounts of the family members, yet they found it convenient to take the account of a tenant. By the way, the police failed to tell the people of this country that the woman whose account is so sacred, for which reason they concluded that Kaka murder could probably be occasioned by a family feud, that woman gave a contradictory statements.
Okay.
When the woman gave accounts, her accounts to the police, that when she heard the noise, she came out, she saw two men running away. There was a piece of log by Kaka, and told Kaka's wife this, told the police. Only 4 days later, the woman, by the way, whose testimony was behind closed doors, said that she saw Kaka's brother dragging Kaka. Now, you see, that is the narrative of this same government. Now, if you read Daily Guide, the day after the report came out, Daily Guide banner headline was that Idi killed Kaka, says the committee. So without empathy, without sympathy, they are now attacking the family because that family is not an elite family. They are a very humble family in a corner somewhere, in a Jura. Another very important point which must not be left unsaid.
That's your final
Johnny,
one.
another very important point. Now, the reasons why they decided to come to that outrageous conclusion that Kaka murder had nothing to do with his social media activism was because a witness who appeared before the committee presented videos, and that those videos for them were speculative. The accounts of Kaka's wife were speculative, and at no point in time did the video suggest a threat of Kaka's life. Now, in the first place, they also said that because the woman, Kaka's wife, refused to report it to the police. What a disaster.
You're asking?
Before the woman appeared before the committee, the woman reported the case to the police.
Okay.
The committee ought to have known this because the docket was made available to the committee. So desperately wanting to absolve government of the murder of Kaka and other young men.
So you're asking for the head of General Apo, who is the General Officer Commanding for the Central Command. You're asking for the Lieutenant Colonel at 4BN. You're asking for the head of the DSP at Ijura, and then the regional minister, and then Salisu Baba, who is gone, left office on his own.
I mean, have you read the commendation on Salisu?
Now, yes, but he said he should be.
The man did not even apply for renomination.
Okay. Now, if that doesn't happen, what next?
Well, are you surprised?
No, I'm asking you. You are making demands.
Are you also West Wagon? What happens? Nothing happened. Several killings in this country. What happened? Under this government, nothing will happen. But we will not stop demanding. The good people of this country would insist that for a moment, this government should behave and act responsibly.
I hear
they
you.
Won't.
Thank you. Ogo, take a bite on this one.
Yes,
I'm told that time is up, but I'm borrowing 2 minutes for you.
It's
so
good.
that
2 minutes is good. When you have a fine case, you don't need so much time.
They're asking for heads.
I've been given the impression that Murtala was saying we've been in power for 6 years. This is the 6th year. I think this is the 5th year. If he said 6th, maybe he's
informing the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's not 6th year. We're in the 5th year. You know that. Yeah. Just for precision, Johnny. Now, when you say the work of the committee is shambolic and disastrous, that is a categorical statement, which is not fair to the committee.
Why?
Being a human, entity, there might be imperfections.
Right.
If you list them or itemize them, we can take a look. But let me say one thing, that the committee helped us to get a broader perspective. Because one of the motives that were thrown out there for possible murder was social media activism. It's a fact that he does social media. But because the wife said people are threatening him, it is one possible place to look at if you're trying to track or find out motive for murder, and for that matter, the murderer.
Okay.
But one other one which came out, which we didn't know, I didn't know until the committee sat, was that his own biological blood brother physically was seen by a tenant dragging him in the night. And the lady, please, but she said it.
Allow him.
And the lady said she didn't sleep on what she observed. She went to Kaka's wife and the mother and told them, I've seen your husband being dragged physically by his elder brother. And what was one gap, when they are doing crime investigation, they identify gaps. One gap that came from Kaka's wife, a gap, was that she said, yes, my husband had been threatened by some people, but she didn't mention that in the night, the co-tenant came to inform her that I've physically seen your, husband being dragged. These are gaps that makes investigators want to ask more questions. But Johnny, just to say that the person or the place where the murder of Kaka or the murderers will be determined conclusively. It's the courts.
Right.
This attitude of the NDC trying to turn themselves, the courts are there.
They are asking for heads. The head of General Paul,
if you are looking for Kaka's murderer, the committee never stated who the murderer was. They only said please. They said we've gotten different narratives. One more up, but one came from the tenant, physical observation. The other was suspicious. Anytime politicians try to determine criminal matters, they only muddy the process and they don't do any good to the family.
Okay.
This talk of a humble family, a humble family somewhere in the July.
Have you read the statement of the family?
Let the courts decide. Okay, let's read some messages. Prince Henry in Koforidua says, good morning, Johnny. The future is pregnant. We live in a country where teachers go to work on Teachers' Day and the rest are on Farmers' Day. Ghana, my motherland. Congratulations to Mr. Otu for emerging the teacher of the year in Ghana. Also, Musa Abator in Kumasi says, I stand by the NDC's position concerning the Gerard killings. The Justice Kumson's committee had done a shoddy job because the evidence shown by the NDC press conference suggests that the committee was set to do a cover-up. I'll advise the family of Kaka to stay resolute and pray for a change of government in 2024. Sorry. TV3, good morning. This rent issue is on the heart of majority of Ghanaians. Oh, indeed, I acknowledge and appreciate the high cost of materials in putting up a shelter for us, but landlords landladies can't plow back profits overnight as expected. Many of us can't breathe. In fact, some of us don't even pay utilities as they live in the same house, etc. They take 2 years advance and start to put up new buildings at the squeezing of tenants. Please, Johnny, your kind of advocacy and Ghanaian voices should get to Mr. President to help solve this issue. Victor Rapture in Ho. Good morning, Johnny. Please ask Okoboy what happened to our rent allowances he and his party promised us during the 2020 election campaign. Ismaila Horoya Ali in Nima there. Good morning, Johnny. Hostel fees on University campus have increased averagely about 600 Ghana cedis annually, but the state of hostels remain the same. Most of them lack study facilities. Aaron from Adenta News site. That's Okuboy's former school. Good morning, Mr. Hughes and your panel. Kindly tell the former deputy minister that the issue of landlords knowing their tenants as well is not wholly true. Students in Winneba are paying over 1,500 cedis per head to live in 2, 3, or 4 in a room for only 8 months. What again do the landlords want to know about students before giving them their rooms? Kuri from Zinning. Good morning, Johnny. I want to share my rent experience just in December 2020. I rented a complex in Spintex, and when I finished paying 25,000 cedis, the agent told me the boys' quarters wasn't part and decided to rent separately to another tenant. I was so angry and disappointed with the broad daylight robbery. The rent officials you are talking about should be up and doing. Good morning, Johnny. The rent wahala in Ghana there is very alarming. Landlords increase the rent anyhow. That needs to be looked at. Sasantul Hakim in Wab. A.U. Farouk in Tamale says, good morning, Johnny, to you and to your panelists, especially to Honorable Mutala. In fact, the Department of Rent Control is totally dormant. I'm asking, where are the politicians who promised to pay rent allowance for us and we voted for them? Okay, good morning, Johnny. You have said it all. We don't have leaders. I think the policy about the affordable housing must be re-looked at. Those who are interested should get their own land from the government to build. If this is done, the politicians cannot sell and buy for their girlfriends. Johnny, some of us have taken loan to buy the land but are unable to build because of the loan deduction and the increase of prices of building materials. Abraham in Buipe, the politicians are in the studio, they are laughing. Is building for sale or rent a business? If it's business like any other business, why are they being controlled? Which other businesses are being controlled? The problem can be solved if government builds to rent than sell. Thank you, PK. Last one. Life is about solving problems. You have made my day. Well, okay. Well, it's it. He's asking the disappearance of some fuel, boy. I'm sure later. Well, a few messages have come to me privately, and I'll share them with you quickly before we go. This is from somebody who shared this with me on Facebook. I won't say his name. It says, in fact, I really like your presentation this morning on Rent Control Office. I'm facing an issue with my rent, which is about to end coming Monday. And I paid 4 years rent advance, which will be due in November. And my landlord is increasing the rent by 150%. And I negotiated with him severally. So I think we as a country, that laws of the land must work. So I went to Rent Control Office to find out the law about the rate of increment. and he let me know that it's between 10 to 40% maximum or 50%. So then I came back to ask the landlord what I should do, because I'm having 50% increase ready to pay, but he's not ready to collect that 50% increment. And also, Ambassador Sampiale, that's my final one. It says, Johnny, I have a huge problem with the tendency of discussing and classifying such raw crimes to the political era in which they occurred. This allows the crime to be swept aside and criminals left off the hook, while the issue becomes yet another political ping pong. This type of political attributions was started by the NPP communications team when they fraudulently attributed every crime committed by anybody between 2012 and 2016 to President John Mahama. Otherwise, how could President Mahama would have been blamed for Jida, Sadabas, branding, blah, blah, blah. The current talk must be an easy fodder for Honorable Kissie Jabeng. And today is Dr. Sekina's birthday of the Eden Hospital. Happy birthday to you, and also a happy birthday to Henry Herbert Malm. This from Bleobi Ni Amasada Gadu. Thank you to Dr. Bernard Okuboy, former member of parliament for Lejukuku, former deputy minister for health, and also thank you to Honorable Mutala Mohammed. He is a member of parliament for Ablekuma Central. Yes.
One thing I protest. One of the reasons why we come on the show is that the ladies read the text messages. What happened today? We are not comfortable with this
to read so that he can be looking at
your government, how many women
your
have you
moral
put in your
decadence has reached its crescendo.
How many women have you put in your
We were
government?
expecting the ladies to read.
No,
They'll come after you are gone. They have a segment. They'll
It
come
all
after
helps
you
to
are gone.
make the new day.
They will come after you are gone. They will come on a segment after you are
I'm
gone.
a gender advocate. I'm not excited about this.
See you.
The reason why he wants